Welcome to episode 9 of Riff and Chips. I'm your host, Phil Vernon, and today we'll be talking to Justine Jones and Sammy Urwin of Employed to Serve and Church Road Records. Employed to Serve have been feeding us all delicious slabs of metal since 2011, with their fourth and most recent album, Conquering, being released in 2021 via Spine Farm. After a few years running as a distro, their label Church Road Records took on their own roster of bands in 2020 and have gone on to deliver us some of the finest heavy releases of the past few years, including bands such as Svalbard, Palm Reader and Harriet, to name just a few. Join us as we discuss the great live DVDs and band VHSs of the 2000s, the success of the label's subscription model, and the heady combination of mushy peas and mayonnaise. Good afternoon, Sammy and Justine. How have you both been doing?
We have been doing fantastic.
Thank you. Our immune system's taken a battering.
Yeah. Even though you can't see it, Justine has a massive Quasimodo. I'm a little bit blocked up, so I sound like Will from the In-Betweeners.
Yeah.
But other than that, we're rocking, man. Thank you for having us on.
Yeah.
No, thanks so much for coming on, yeah. So we like to start by talking about how our guests kind of got into the heavy scene way back when. So, what are your stories?
Trying to see this, there's a few different avenues. So one of which was like the Now CDs, because they had like Blink-182, Sum 41, Chili Peppers, like sort of guitar.
Yeah.
So I was sort of like, that was my first ever sort of introduction to it. It was just sort of Sainsbury's CDs that like my family would buy for like kind of car journeys.
Yeah.
And then from there, I sort of got into watching Kerrang and Scuzz TV and also playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater, like between sort of
Shout out.
3 or 4 of those. That sort of basically dictated my entire sort of listening playlist for about 10 years really.
Yeah.
From about
There's a whole
10
generation of people around our age, I think, that, like say Kerrang, Scuzz and the Tony Hawk soundtracks were their inlay. It's
snowboarding game, SSX Tricky is a big one as well. And then, sort of the WWE stuff, like some of their entry music, we had like metal in it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because that's all we had, really. We didn't have, we had internet, but it was in its dial-up form. So it took days to download an MP3, and then, your aunt would call and ruin all your progress. So, it was literally just down to sort of, watching music television.
Yeah. What about yourself, Sammy?
I mean, a similar sort of story, really. I'm trying to think of my key points of entry, really, into the heavy world. I mean, obviously, Kerrang TV and Scuzz and, particularly MTV2 as well. I think that might have been like the first heavy music channel I stumbled across.
Yeah.
But there's two, the main thing that sticks out to me is seeing older kids in my area wearing Slipknot hoodies.
Yeah.
And that just intrigued me so much because it looked kind of scary. Didn't really know what it was all about. And then I first heard Slipknot and I was very unsure, but something just kept pulling me back in. It was kind of similar the first time I heard death metal. It was like, I don't know about this, but I'm also fascinated. I can't quite stay away from it.
Yeah.
I came into it similarly with music TV, Tony Hawk's soundtrack, that got me into Papa Roach and Rage Against the Machine. And
Sevenfold on there as well, aren't they?
Quite possibly. Yeah. I mean, there's so many.
One of the slightly later ones. Yeah, one of the later ones, I think. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then Slipknot was a sort of a dive into the a sort of deeper realm of heavy music.
Yeah, for sure.
And then after that, shout out to my mum. She bought me a Drilling the Vein VHS tape.
Oh yeah, I used to love those.
Oh yes, so good. It was just one in a charity shop, and she, being the legend that she is, she was like, "Oh, Roadrunner, Slipknot on Roadrunner, so maybe Sammy will like some of these bands as well." And it was quite an older tape, so it had stuff like Sepultura and Deicide and all that kind of stuff on it. And then that's what opened the door to an even deeper realm of heavy music. And
some of those DVDs that you used to get back in the day, kind of like Drilling the Vein, and then later on with things like the Hellfest DVDs, and you used to be able to get like Wacken ones that were like a triple Wacken, DVD of sets from like Wacken and stuff like that. And I grew up watching so many of those. Like I used to be quite obsessed with any kind of like live DVD I could get a hold of. I had a chat with Joe from Urwin the other day for the podcast, and we were talking about, that amazing Killswitch live DVD, which I think kind of changed the way that bands did DVDs, because before that you had things like Who Then Now, the Korn video, and Welcome to the Neighborhood, the Slipknot one, which were more kind of interviews and videos, but not so much really cool live stuff. And then the Kill Switch one came out with incredible production live show on it, then like a really cool kind of full-length documentary about the history of the band, and then that kind of set the scene then for, there seemed to be a few years where nearly every band kind of jumped on that, like the Philadelphia DVD. And
what was the Machine Head one around through the Ashes?
Elegies, was it?
Yeah, that was it at Brixton Academy. That was a big one for me. I mean, of course, like Disaster Pieces as well by Slipknot, but
yeah, of course, yeah.
The production value changed because I had the Welcome to the Neighborhood VHS tape. I mean, there's something to be said for that as well, all the stuff that's kind of sort of rough and ready, but it definitely, I don't know, early to mid-noughties, the production value definitely stepped up, and bands were probably like, you can't just do something on a camcorder anymore.
Yeah, I always think back to that first Converge DVD, that Long Road Home one that was like 4 hours of live footage, but it was all just hand cams in people's basements. Like, you couldn't tell what the fuck was going on. It was carnage, but it was like so engaging. It was like, oh, this is chaos. This is what I want to see.
Well, that's it. Sometimes you do want to see that, though. Sometimes you want to, you know, stick on, I don't know, something super pro looking, and you can watch it on your nice TV and feel like you're really at the gig. And sometimes you want to see the nitty gritty. You want to see the basement show from the late 90s with kids literally just like piling on top of each other. But Ben Collar literally posted clips from that just before we hopped on this call. I think Converge has just uploaded all of that to their YouTube, and he was like,
oh, nice.
And he was like, for fans of like poor, like unlistenable audio or something. Like,
it's amazing though, because you compare that to the one they put out a couple of years ago with the vinyl box set, and it had the full live Philadelphia set and then a few other things. And, you know, I think that was filmed by Sonny at 856, and obviously the quality is incredible. And then you look at the kind of 15, 20 year difference between the two. It's
from an 18-year-old in the corner with a camera, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd like going back to getting into all this stuff, that like these DVDs, and particularly the ones that came free with like Metal Hammer with key stuff, it's kind of funny now, because obviously it's all at your fingertips on the internet. But getting a free DVD Metal Hammer was sort of like, oh, I want to chuck this on and see what it's saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
I remember the launch of Kerrang TV. So Kerrang, it was literally a VHS stuck to the front of the magazine, like how you'd get a free CD stuck to the front of it. I don't know if you remember it. So it was like, it had like, so it says like 666 and kind of like the 18 like certificate logo.
Right.
And I think, thinking back, I'm trying to think what videos there were. I'm pretty sure Sonna was on there.
So what is the logistics of taping a VHS to?
I can't remember if it was in a plastic package or something, but it was like a cardboard slip VHS, and it was on the cover or part of a package, but they gave it out free to launch the channel. And it had Sonna on it, I think. I remember it had Killing Time by Head on it.
Yeah.
There was like 5 or 6 videos. I've got a feeling something like Ash, maybe. It was like a really weird collection of bands.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, just that classic time, like, you know, a VHS tape to a magazine. You don't really get that anymore.
That worked.
We talked a lot about, I guess, mostly US bands there, which was the in for a lot of people. Like you say, Tony Hawk's soundtrack, Kerrang TV. In terms of the UK scene, what were the kind of early UK bands that got their claws into you and dragged you in?
So mine were like Bullet from a Valentine, Feel for a Friend, and I got Urwin as well. I'm trying to think what else. I really liked In Me as well. They were sort of like a Hampshire-based band, like so, like not too far from here. And
the car the other night.
Yeah. Is it White Butterfly? That's such a great album. And Uni Year 6 was a good one as well, because they're like went to the same college as I did, and they're like a few years older, so they were always playing around here. And like Open the Skies, which is like Josh from Palm Reader's old band. We saw them
Shout out Woken.
We saw them at our local church when I was like 12, 13.
Nice.
And they played with like Def Havana back when our church used to put on shows. Someone set up a stink bomb or something, didn't they? And the band.
That was it, the last straw.
Similar route for you, Sammy? Same sort of bands, or?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, the only other one I was going to shout out, I mean, because obviously, like Justine said, Funeral for a Friend, In Me, Urwin, like particularly Urwin as well, because, you know, being quite local to us. I think I had a friend who was in like one of their videos where there was like some like live footage. So you definitely heard their name bounded around quite a lot. And it was exciting to hear of, you know, a band from the local area being played on Scuzz and stuff like
in
that.
Chicago, when they play like loads of local schools and stuff like that, and like village halls.
Yeah, you don't really hear much of that kind of going on.
They're like Dawkins Village Hall was like they played one quite.
Our mate Maz, he put them on in the Cellar Bar in Bracknell as well, I think.
All the hot spots.
Yeah.
But from that scene, I mean, I was gonna. Oh, and it rhymes as well. From that scene, Hondo McLean, who,
yeah, I love that band.
yeah, I mean, I can't say I have great knowledge of everything they put out, but they were played on Scuzz quite a lot, as well as a band called Phony, who I think the bass player might have even been from Woking. So once again, these were just kind of bands, you know, with fairly low budget videos being played on Scuzz, but it kind of gave you this idea of like, oh, you know, you can kind of get into this world. It doesn't seem like a physical impossibility, you know, rather than watching like your Limp Bizkits or whatever with these like amazing videos.
Yeah.
Suddenly bands like the early Funeral for a Friend stuff, like the videos there was, you know, it's them playing in some derelict building, you know.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know, and stuff like that.
Was it this year's Ice to Open Heartbreak?
Yeah. Just
Johnny
shaky
True-
cam in a warehouse.
Yeah.
Six and Johnny True.
Oh, holy shit. Sick.
Now quite
Blew my...
Six are like quite low.
Yes. I got a flyer for the first Sixth album when I was at some show at Brixton Academy. Once again, going back to some sort of old school way of, you know, spreading information.
Yeah.
It's still a thing now. Was even more of a thing at this time. But I saw this flyer and I was like, right, I got to check this out. And that first record blew my mind. I mean, that definitely was another like gateway moment to weird mathy kind of techie stuff. Because I rinsed that record non-stop.
So I was quite lucky to hear Sick quite early on. So through, obviously, Johnny from Devil Sold His Soul, who records the Cops albums, me and him go way back. I've known him since I was 4 or 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
And he was always a few years older. And he used to be, in the pre-Devil Sold His Soul, there was a band called Mahumodo that were big in the London scene. And so, you know, he was growing up playing early shows with bands like Million Dead, Aconite Thrill, Eden Main, Sixth. It was kind of, it was like Fire Apple Red. It was like that sort of scene at the time. So he'd come home and he'd be like, oh, we played with this band. And he'd show us this 2-track demo and it'd be the Sixth 2-track demo or whatever.
Yeah. That I was just going to say, something to be said for that older sort of like friend that kind of shows you the way. I think everyone's had someone like that in their life. Hey kid, listen to this, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, he was old enough to drive, so we got to go to shows a bit earlier than some kids might. Let's talk a little bit about Church Road. You initially started it just as a distro in around 2017, is that right?
That is correct, yeah. I've had a history of bad back. That was the initial time it flared up, so I quit my gardening job for a spell. And I was like, oh, I've always wanted to sort of do this and, you know, put out, I mean, I wanted to put out records more than distro, but it was kind of like, well, I'll do that because that can help kind of, you know, sell some stuff and get some money in, and I'll release my numerous side projects as well as distro stuff. And did that for a spell, and yeah, it was good fun, but it was early incarnation anyway.
And then was it around 2020 you made the jump to, I guess, what you could call a kind of fully fledged label, started putting out your own releases. So how have those kind of 3 or 4 years been since then?
Just, I mean, amazing, really.
Yeah, good. I mean, we do it full time, which we're super lucky to be able to say. Yeah, it's just been really fun. There's so many great bands in the UK and beyond at the moment. They were kind of spoiled for choice. So yeah, we've been like busy. Last year we averaged 2 releases a month. Won't be doing that again, but that was fun.
Could have possibly been with like 2 people, but I think this year we're like, you know, less we sort of delve further than we can actually, you know, handle. We're going to stick to one release this month. But I mean, I mean, without being over the top, for me, you know, it's felt like a dream come true getting to do this. I mean, this is absolutely, my dream job, and grateful every day that I'm doing it. You know, absolutely over the moon. And, you know, to echo what Justine was saying, it's just such an exciting time for, well, I mean, music all over, but particularly in the UK. I mean, there's just so many, you know, like yourselves, just so many amazing artists coming through. And it's kind of nice talking about all the old bands, you know, like, you know, getting like a 6th demo or whatever and Aconite Through and all that stuff, because, you know, there's been obviously good waves since then as well, but I feel like we're definitely riding a big one right now with so much exciting stuff. And it's all different as well. You know, that's the best thing. It's not like it's one niche in particular where like, okay, you know, this is having a moment. It's like, so, you know, the doors are really open in terms of meshing different genres together.
Oh yeah, like there's a lot to be said for like with you love or hate it, the streaming era, because you know you're not financially sort of tied down to how many CDs you can buy each month. You know, you have
100%,
you know, the wealth of Spotify's entire catalog to go through, and you know, because of that, there's like kids growing up who don't have a lot of money, but they're able to have access to so many different genres. Hopefully a lot more open-minded about, art in general, as well as music, like films. And so there's like all this sort of like, what's the word? Sort of my brain.
Crossover?
Yeah, a lot of crossover. Sorry, I've had a lot of cold medicine. My brain's slow.
You've highlighted kind of what I was going to talk about next, because I was going to talk about the subscription service that you guys offer, which I think is a really great model. And the success of that must make you feel like kind of whatever you're doing, you are doing right. And like you said, people are willing to put their trust fully in you, essentially, to kind of blindly sign up for whatever you throw at them. It all falls under the same kind of hard rock sphere, I guess you'd call it. But, it has everything from Sun's Journey Through the Night, Celestial Sanctuary, down to bands like Blanket, everything from shoegaze to black metal to death metal and whatever falls in between. And like you say, I think the kind of modern approach to music, I've chatted to a few people so far about how seeing much more mixed bills at shows nowadays makes things so much more interesting than seeing the same band 4 or 5 times. I think that ties in perfectly to that subscription model. So what was it that kind of made you offer that up as a service? Because obviously I know it's not something that's offered by a lot of labels.
No.
It's just something that I sort of, we did in the Holy Raw days, and we just really enjoyed it. So I carried it on over into this new label. And yeah, like people, especially with like cost of living and things like that, people enjoyed the fact they could budget each month. And it's slightly cheaper to sort of like subscribe than it is to sort of buy direct from our store.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of like, I think the subscription model, like it's literally gone into everything in our lives at the moment. Like you can get coffee subscriptions, Netflix.
Yeah.
Even shampoo subscriptions. So I feel like people enjoy the sort of the fact that they can budget a lot easier, especially when, times are a bit tough with everything being so, heinously expensive. Like it's just really good as well, because it just means that we can take a punt on new bands.
Yeah.
Without having to worry about, whether we're going to sell enough records, and just sort of give them basically a fan base waiting and ready, because like the subscribers are so awesome at sort of bragging about their releases online and like genuine like music fans like myself and Sammy. So yeah, it's just really nice to see.
I guess, running a label like Church Road, you kind of become the kind of taste makers a bit for the scene. You certainly have a pretty significant influence in regards to shaping the scene in terms of what bands you decide to sign on or to kind of put out. Have you ever kind of thought about it in that way?
Yeah, I kind of, I know what you mean about tastemakers. It's one of those words that I don't know if I like. I don't know. It sounds very corporate.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I like to think so. Like I just like to tell people what to listen to. I always have since I was a kid. So
it's like you've taken the Orcs for the entire UK scene rather than just for the van.
Listen to this. You know what you mean about tastemaking? It's like, I don't dislike it as a term. I just think, obviously, that's what we aim to do. Obviously, we wouldn't want to be as, I don't know, as egotistical as to say, like, we have the best taste or whatever, but we...
No, I have great...
Justine has the best taste. I try immaculate taste by...
I try and keep up with my amazing playlist.
That's true. But yeah, there is, even though it is vast, there is like a rough sort of, I don't know, barometer, if you will, for what we put out, because it's definitely stuff that we very much enjoy that we're like, but probably wouldn't make a lot of sense to come out on Church Road. So if we're like releasing any sort of like, well, whatever it is, whether it's death metal, black metal, shoegaze, whatever, it's like we kind of listen to it with the Church Road hat on and be like, is this something that someone who's into us because of like Slow Crush and Grey Wave and stuff, will they dig it because it's a bit more in the metal world? So yeah, we try our best to kind of make it fit.
We're definitely not a label for the elitists. I think like, yeah, because there's some people who only listen to death metal and we get quite cross about the fact that we like release shoegaze and stuff like that. So yeah, it's nice to keep people on their toes.
How did your experiences within the industry and relationships you've had with labels that you've been signed to with Employed to Serve influence how you decided to run things when it came to church?
Couldn't say. It's obviously we were signed with Holy Raw before. We're now with Spine Farm.
Yeah.
And we have really good relationships with all the staff there as well. I don't know if it has maybe played in on like a subconscious level, or is there anything you could think of that's kind of...
Oh, what, in terms of like how we deal with...
How we like operate, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really hard because both have always been in tandem.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether it's been influenced or not. I guess like I look out for certain things a label would a bit more, with my band hat on and vice versa with the other hat.
Yeah.
We are in quite a weird, unique position where I haven't really had to think about it.
We've had like an overall, I don't know whether this motto comes from anywhere other than sort of, and more so just coming from like the DIY scene and being musicians ourselves. I mean, getting into being a record label was never from we want to be, super rich corporate, record label or anything like that. It's from solely from a place of passion. So the way we work is just by like a record by record deal, where it's not like we're signing you for like one record but with like 3 options and we get like first refusal or anything like that. It's literally just like, we want to work with people who want to work with us. Everyone's happy, and then if anyone wants to go work elsewhere, then no hard feelings, that's totally fine. It's all about, I mean, obviously the business has to run and make money, of course, but like ultimately it's for the fun of it. We want to see the label grow and become more successful, but not at the expense of like the enjoyment of running it and the band's remaining the sole focus over everything else, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, like our business ethos is more of a slow plodding donkey, just sort of slowly growing, staying.
We're happy in our lane, moisturised. Yeah.
Obviously, we started talking a bit about Employed to Serve there. You've been an album and every 2-year kind of band, pretty much like clockwork, since the first release in 2015.
Yeah.
Now, Conquering was released in September 21. So by my maths, this is the longest gap you've had between releases. Was that a conscious decision or just the way that things have turned out?
Pandemic. We had essentially 2 COVID albums. We had a release in 2019 in May. So we had 6 months of touring that before the pandemic hit. And then the last album, Conquering, was September 2021. So yeah, like it affected 2 album cycles for us. So we were quite conscious of wanting to actually tour those albums before doing another one. Yeah. Because I feel like everyone's quite guilty of like sort of like being on this sort of treadmill and just being like, oh, next one. And since this is our, 5th album?
Technically,
yeah, we can afford to be a bit slower. Like,
yeah, I mean, 2 years is pretty, by Tool standards.
Yeah, it's absolutely rapid in that case. Yeah.
But yeah, we just finished recording an album and we're really happy with it. But I'm glad we waited and did a proper festival season. We did those Gajura tours, which are incredible.
Yeah.
Because like what happens is like you just kind of go on to the next thing and you don't really give the songs the airtime that you want them to, like in your set list, because as soon as you get into 5 albums, you've got like almost 5 hours of music you have to condense into a set list. Yeah. So yeah, I just really wanted to get it done, really.
And when you're picking a set list, like I said, I've never been in a band with that much material to have to worry about it. But, when you come to picking set lists, do you find it hard? Do you try and kind of scatter a few things in from every record, or do you maybe focus more on a more recent record? How do you try and approach it?
I'd say we focus pretty hard, like on
the latest record.
Yeah, I mean, because like you were saying, Justine, it's when there's quite a pool to to pull from, and then you've got another album coming out at some point. You do sort of worry about having these songs having enough airtime. But we at the same time we try and give a pretty good spread. We've been playing for about like an hour, which for us is freaking well long.
There's an hour and a quarter on our last headline.
Yeah, that was potentially long.
There was no sideshow or anything like that either, so there's no break, and like it just felt mental.
I didn't come out with a snake,
no,
juggle fire or something.
Yeah, it should have been dancers or something, or jugglers. It wasn't. It was just us sweating for an hour and 15 minutes.
But yeah, I mean, we haven't done anything from our first album in quite some time, and we've obviously we've changed as a band over the years, no doubt. Although saying that, if we were playing some of our new stuff, some of our first album in amongst the new stuff, it wouldn't be like the biggest,
No, it all fit 100%. Yeah,
I think that's obviously our least of our priorities right now. Also, as well, I mean, I can't believe it'll be 10 years since the album came out next year. So I suppose we should think about
anniversary cash grab.
Yeah. I mean, why not? Everyone else does it. It becomes that thing, doesn't it? Like you say, you've played those songs, a bunch, hundreds of times over the years, and I totally understand the excitement to play something new. As soon as we have something new that's ready to play live, it's always like, oh, I'm looking forward to playing this. But then also, once it goes away for a bit, it then makes it really cool when one does pop up into a set. When you see bands that have gone on to huge things, Architects, Bring Me the Horizon, recently, their sound now is very different to what it was back in the kind of mid-2000s. And quite rightly, they focus hugely on more recent material. But then when all of a sudden they drop something from one of the first couple of records live, it's like that, oh, I wasn't expecting this anymore.
Yeah.
Like, and it becomes an event in itself, doesn't it? So I think if there's a long enough gap where you don't play something, then when it does to him, he's like, oh yeah, it's cool they're playing that.
I didn't realise how much I missed it. I mean, that's a great example. I mean, particularly with Bring Me, because obviously they, you know, their sounds evolved so much over the years. But I mean, that kind of brings us back to the whole, you know, breaking down of genres a little bit, doesn't it? With how people are like less fussy these days about sticking to like one niche, you know what I mean? You can like the early Bring Me stuff and you can like the new stuff, you know what I mean? And you don't have to sort of worry about people being like, whoa, you can't like both, you know?
Yeah.
Policing it all.
Classic gatekeeping. So, Sammy, you released a single under your new solo project, SMO, last year. Is there anything more to come from that?
There is, yeah. So I've been sat on the second single for a while. Like the last month or so has been busier than I was anticipating. So I've been a bit rubbish at setting a release date for it. But the song is done. I've got a video for it and everything. And that should be dropping, yeah, sort of imminently, I guess, with an idea of I'm, you know, going to write more material. But I mean, the whole idea with SMO is just as and when I want, really. You know, I'd quite like to put an EP out this year, but obviously other commitments elsewhere coming first. It's the sort of it's down to time, really. But yeah, I'm excited though. It's quite fun to do something a bit different for me. When I told people I was doing a sort of like another project, they're like, "Okay, cool. So it's going to be like proggy death metal, yeah?" And I was like, "No, it's not this time. No, it's a bit curveball."
Now, people won't be aware because obviously this is going to be a scheduled thing, but we're having this chat at lunchtime. So I don't know about you. I'm feeling a bit hungry. So I think it's time to dive into...
Yeah.
Metal laughs over the track. There you go.
A new metal laugh.
Yeah, I love to really do like a laugh in between, just like
Yeah, something like that, or a whisper, someone staring into a swinging light bulb.
Yeah.
Some classic new metal tropes. So it's time for Chippy Chat. So we always start with asking, what local chippy are you guys taking me to?
Horsell Fish and Chips. Absolutely no doubt about it. That is
it's the only one in our area now, isn't it?
It is, but I mean, even if we still had we had one round the corner from us, which was decent, but
It was fine.
Horsell Fish and Chips, right? So we're from Woking, but there's a very small village near us called Horsell. The Horsell Fish and Chips has been there for aeons. I mean, since
It's an institution.
yeah, it was run by a lovely man called Brian for many years, who's now sold it. But you won't get a better chip. I'm telling you. I will be as bold as to say that I'll take on anyone else's favourite chippy and say Horsell Fish and Chips it's got the best buds, man.
It's nice that you back it. Like, I'm all for backing it. That's good. And you say that's been around for a while. You say that's as long as you guys can remember.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. I mean, it's, as you say, an institution.
I mean, that backs up your argument. I mean, if it's crap, people aren't going to go and it's going to close. So, something's been around for that long. They're obviously doing something right.
Yeah, there's always queues outside it.
I feel like, and it's like a classic chippy as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of pretty much any chips. Even a shit chip is still a good chip.
You're not discriminating against potatoes.
But it's that classic, like, chunky cut. You know what I mean? The classic chip shop chip. And it's just perfection. So good.
What size portion of chips do you pick up?
Large for me, my friend, every time. I mean, Justine might be a little bit ambitious and also get a large, which then means I have the leftovers.
More for the chip pit.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
That's what
my stomach.
call
is
his
the chip
stomach.
pit, yeah,
I might get that tattooed in proper like 90s hardcore style font, maybe.
yeah,
That'd be good. The wife would love that.
yeah.
What's your main accompaniment to the chips then?
I mean, you gotta have mushy peas. That's an absolute given. I'm a fan of curry sauce, but it's not like I won't get it every time. So for me, like, the order will be there'll be cod and chips.
Mhm.
These days it's toe fish and chips, but same sort of thing, right?
Yep.
That with a large portion of chips and mushy peas and a whole lot of mayonnaise. I think mayonnaise probably.
Yeah, mayo is my
Chips.
favourite condiment. I'm not a fan of ketchup.
Oh, I mean, don't get me wrong, ketchup and chips is also great.
I'm not much of a sauce person.
You're not, are you?
I'm a cod and chip, mushy peas, salt and vinegar, probably some mayo. Or if I really hate myself, I go for a battered sausage instead of fish.
Yeah.
The reason why that is always horrible afterwards because it just feels like I've just jumped into a vat of fat.
Yeah. Me and Liam from Hidden Mothers had a chat about battered sausages. He was saying, we talked about there's quite a high disappointment potential with them because when they're good, they're really good, but they can be quite poor. Sometimes you bite into them and like whether the batter's maybe softer rather than crunchier. And I don't know, it's just, you can just, we always used to refer to them as cloggers when we were younger because you can feel like your arteries clogging up while you're eating them.
You can imagine a whole bad sausage just like a hole in like the artery, can't you?
Yeah.
That's not the self-loathing sort of order. And like, there's realistically nothing good in it. I mean, there's a bit of protein, but realistically it's processed meat dipped in fat. Whereas like fish, you could be like, oh, it's a bit healthier, like
omega-3 fish oils.
Yeah.
A bit healthier, a bit cleaner, but or a saveloy actually. Saveloy's an alright option as well.
Yeah, we didn't used to get saveloys as much in northern chippies. Like you'd see them, but they're definitely a bit more of a southern thing.
Is that us trying to be posh or something?
I don't know. I guess everyone has their thing. It's like you don't really get scraps in chippies down south, whereas you do up north.
I would get spice as well. You kept that as a secret from us.
I swear there's like a whole...
Was that whole?
Well, I don't know. I've only ever heard... You had a chip spice?
I've not known chip... I know obviously you get like spice bags in Ireland and stuff like that, which is more kind of like a salt and peppery type thing, but chip spice isn't something I'm overly familiar with.
Or the paprika kind of size.
Yeah, that's weird.
Oh, right, okay. Like a peri salt or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's literally like nano peri salt.
But for some reason in Hull, they just know it's chip spice.
They're really proud of it.
Yeah.
They always talk about it, which is quite cool.
You get quite a lot of things regionally like that. Like in the Black Country area of like the Midlands in Birmingham, they have like the kind of orange chips.
Oh, no.
I'm not sure what makes them orange. I'm not sure whether it's the fat they fry them in. I need to look into this. But they're almost like, what's it orange, these chips? But yeah, it's one of those really regional sort of things that people are very proud of if they're kind of from that area.
Yeah. But going back to, batter bits, I mean, I don't know if many fish and chip shops down here do it, but I'm pretty certain Horsell Fish and Chips does, because I'm certain I haven't had it for a very long time, because talking about clogging arteries, I mean, that's it's a prime one for it.
Yeah.
But, it's so good though, isn't it?
So there's a town in Cheshire called Northwich. There was a chippy there called the Seafarer. You know, the kind of hot cabinets that you keep all the pies and the sausages and stuff in, either at the front or at the back of the chippy.
Yeah.
They had one of them that they obviously just, as they scooped the fryers and got all the bits out, they just chucked them in there, and there was just this huge pile of them. And, if you wanted a bag of scraps or whatever you want to call them, they would scoop them up and put them straight in a bag and a bit of salt and vinegar on the top.
Wow.
And, they're going to be thrown away. I mean, and they never used to charge for them, at least. It was a free thing, but it always kind of blows my mind when chippies don't do it. Most chippies you go to up north, especially like Lancashire, Yorkshire, where they'd have them. So it always surprises me that more southern chippies don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, like as a kid, it was great because, like, when you go and sort of bounding about town just for something to do, and obviously you don't have like much money, like you pop into the chip shop and get a bag of scraps, and then go about finding all the other free stuff you try to get a hold of. Oh man, so good. I wasn't aware it wasn't something everyone did, because like you say, it's just going in the bin. So
there's a reason behind that though, isn't it?
I mean, it's not particularly healthy, but if you're health conscious, the chippy's not the place to go, is it? You're not going there for a health conscious meal. The two local chippies near me, neither of those do it. So I need to see if there's any Bristol chippies that do, actually. I'll be chatting to a few other Bristol-based people as part of the podcast, and maybe I'll find somewhere that does it and I can make a special trip.
Find your sauce, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, going back to sauces, you talked about mushy peas, both of you, and you both mentioned mayo. Now, do ever the two meet? Would you ever have would they come together, or would you keep those separate?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you mean, mush it all up, make the mushy peas even mushier.
Yeah, I mean,
potato.
I mean, like, I'll have them, like, in opposite sides of the plate. I'll have, like, the mushy peas on one end and then the mayo on the other. And sometimes they do cross-contaminate, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I would be mental as to, like, top the mushy peas and mayo. I think that's a bit...
I wouldn't do that. I would definitely have them closer than you, though. I definitely would have them maybe even side by side, maybe just a little between the two, but totally mix them up. I mean, yeah, I feel with all that, particularly this kind of food, the more it's all kind of like mushed together, the better, really, You
both like to keep them separate. You're kind of dippers rather than pourers. You won't cover everything in the mushy peas. You kind of keep them in there. They stay in their lane.
I sometimes don't even have the mayo. If I've got something like mushy peas or baked beans, that's enough.
Baked beans, fish and chips, are you mad?
Yeah, well, like if you have...
I mean, I like it. Oh, yes, but...
like, I'm talking about chips in general. Like,
okay.
In other scenarios. So, like, chips, like at Wetherspoons, for example, if you get the all-day brunch, because of baked beans and chips.
Yeah.
So,
no, I see.
That's your judgment.
I grimaced when we talked about beans on a chippy, I'm not going to lie. I'm not a big beans fan, but yeah, the thought of it from a chippy. I think, you can get your little pots from maybe your KFC or whatever, but I'm not sure if they belong on a chippy.
The little KFC pots of beans, they don't taste like beans. They're like this own thing.
So hot as well.
It's because they're hot with
molten lava.
3rd-degree burns on the roof of your mouth.
Finally tried the new KFC fries a couple of weeks back, just more out of intrigue than anything. They're all right. They're kind of pretty Nando's-y.
Okay.
Because they were always famous. Everyone always talked about how their fries were shit because they were always the worst part of it. And everyone talks about how the gravy's good and people were like, oh, the fries were just bland and boring. And they did this whole PR campaign around launching new fries, basically being like, we know our fries are shit. We've gone away and thought about it. Here are our new fries that are no longer shit. And they've put a bit of seasoning on them and they are better than they were. They're all right. The look at your face, Justine, implies that you quite like the KFC fries.
When Burger King had crap fries when we were younger, they had like starch or something and there was this weird coating on it.
Yeah.
I know
what you mean. Yeah.
Weird. Like King of Fries is McDonald's and then Burger King burger is the one. So like if
you can find a services that have both and get one from burger from Burger King and fries from Mackey's, I agree.
We've literally got them in town now. Chips are fine. They're like,
they just didn't ever put salt. You had to salt them yourself, didn't you?
Yeah.
That was why they were shit, I think, because they came completely.
The Burger King ones were a bit like that as well, and sometimes they still are. You have to put quite a bit of salt on Burger King fries.
Yeah. They're just a bit. I'm not a massive fan of Burger King fries. XL bacon double sheet.
Yeah, that's my go-to. Like on the way back from a gig from London, it's like maybe 1 a.m, XL bacon double cheese from like Reading Services or somewhere on the way back. It's a classic tour staple. It's the only burger that you seem to get from one of those places that feels like it's got some heft to it. You see these pictures on the top and you order them and they come and they're these pathetic little things. They don't piss around. They don't put any salad or anything on it. They don't even put sauce on it. Like they can be a bit dry sometimes, but at least they're a good solid lump of a burger.
Yeah, because you get a Big Mac and you're like, this ain't big.
No.
It looks a bit sad. The meat always looks grey. Like the lettuce is limp and like pale, like penic lettuce.
If you're going to get a burger from McDonald's, it's the Big Tasty, I think.
Big Tasty's pretty.
Yeah, that's slightly.
I want to try that. This is advertising working on me. That tower burger in KFC, or is it so big you have to
hang a tower or something? KFC's got good burgers. The Big Daddy box meal was always a favourite.
While you're at the chippy, do you get a tin of pop?
Yeah, probably.
DC.
Or if feeling a bit adventurous, particularly if it's like the summer or something, I get a can of Dr. Pepper, I reckon.
I was going to say, does the chippy actually, does it have any kind of like interesting off the wall kind of cans, or is it just kind of your straight down the middle Commoner Garden cans?
Pretty bog standard, to be fair.
Yeah, our off licenses have a huge plethora of soft drinks. I like going there for a fizzy drink, but
yeah,
Coca-Cola or something.
Or like Rio.
Rio's amazing.
I love Rio.
Yeah, it's pretty run of the mill though, I think. And it's been a while since I've got a can of pop from there. Since it's changed hands, it might have changed.
I can pretend I'm being healthy if I have a Diet Coke as well.
Yeah, with your kind of 1,600 calorie meal. So if you pop in and you order a fish and they're like, oh, it's going to be 5-10 minutes for that, love. You're like, yeah, that's fine. Do you order anything to eat while you're waiting?
I don't, but I guess that's I'd love a little snack whilst I'm waiting, but I think I don't, just because I feel like, well, if I'm waiting for that, if I order anything else, I'm waiting for that as well,
Yeah.
You're worried it could become like an infinite kind of like time loop sort of thing.
Pretty much, yeah. What would you get if you were getting a little like waiting?
Only something small. So like, maybe
little sausage,
maybe a fish cake, a little sausage, or this comes up in every episode, but I guess they call them something different in different parts of the country. But whether you call them like a fritter or a scallop, or a smack, or essentially just like, like a battered potato, not battered, just like a potato disc.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? Kind of like a big hash brownie type thing. You know what I mean? They call them different things all over the place, but something like that's ideal kind of Q snack.
Yeah, there's not an awful, they might do fish cakes actually. Yeah, because I know what you mean now. It's like in the sort of like where they keep the pies and stuff.
It needs to be something that's ready. Yeah, rather than waiting for it, it's like, oh, and I'll have one of them, like a little, like I say, little sausage or a Savoy, or it could be a fish cake. Yeah.
Either of those would be great. I haven't had a fish cake in years, man.
Oh, they're discs of disappointment for me. I don't know. It's not real fish. It's just sort of like
but it's like a fish finger in a circle.
Mush.
It is kind of, yeah. So some chippies, I don't know. So the one closest to me, in fact, I think a lot of chippies do that now. They quite often give you the choice. So a lot of them they have the classic one with the kind of orange breadcrumbs that's obviously just from the chippy cash and carry that every chippy has.
Yeah.
But then a lot of them quite often will make their own that are normally maybe a battered one and usually a bit thicker, maybe a bit herbier, a bit more tasty. Do they offer the choice at yours, or is it just the kind of standard?
I must admit, I think on the like...
I'd sooner go for like a pucker pie. Oh, not while I'm waiting. Oh,
so would I. Once again, going back to decorum, I don't know if I could put in a big order, be like, yeah, let's have a pie off the
It would be like
please.
it'd be like the chip equivalent of Bruce from Silver, all the chocolate cake.
Yeah.
Beige after beige.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, what topic of pies though? And I don't know if this is more a northern thing or not. I'm equating it to being a northern thing because I used to always get it when I was in Manchester. I'd love to get like a steak and kidney like pudding, pie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, that would probably be over the cod. Actually, that would be my number one go-to. Would be like steak and kidney pudding and chips.
Yeah, they refer to them as up north as a baby's head or a babby's yed.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've heard that.
No.
I think just because it looks like a little baby's head, because obviously they're like quite smooth, aren't they? The pudding, because it's suet, isn't it, rather than like pastry on the outside. Yeah.
Oh man, it's just so good. Yeah.
Yeah. So pudding, chips, peas, and gravy is a very classic northern order.
The more I think about British cuisine, the more I realise it's just sort of all designed to make us pasty and plump. Like,
Yeah.
you listen, well, we got like kind of breakfast, fish and chips,
Roasts.
Oh. the roast.
Oh, it's all a grown person needs.
We like to claim, was it bolognese and korma as well, don't we?
Well, that's our go at fusion, I guess.
Fusion, yeah.
Bolognese was a British.
Well, I mean, no, I've spoken to Italian people and they're like, well, we don't really cook, we don't have spaghetti.
It's like Belgian buns. It's like, do the Belgians know about these buns? You think?
Oh yeah, we had friends over from Belgium. We're telling them about Greg's. It's like, yeah, you can get like a Belgian bun from them. They're like, a Belgian bun? It's like, what's that? And it's like, Belgian bun. And got,
Yeah, how do you not know?
how do you not know? You go, come on, you must have it for breakfast.
'Cause we have like English breakfast, don't we? We call it English breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess we're just making up food now.
We are.
We like to give food kind of local things. There's that whole thing where you can only call it something if it's made there. Like there's like a proper protection thing, isn't it? You can get it's like you're only allowed to call it a Cornish pasty if it's actually made in Cornwall. It's some sort of like protection thing, like champagne and
Yeah.
It's like how people get funny when above like vegan stuff, where like you can't really call it a sausage, it has to be like, I don't know, fossage.
Now, before we close the podcast, we always like to give our guests the opportunity to push anything that they've got coming up that they might want to tell us about. So we like to call this section
Amazing.
anything from the world of Employed to Serve, SMO, Church Road that you want to push.
By the time this has come out, we will have played a killer set at Strange Falls Festival in Leeds. Absolutely wowing audiences. As it goes, so since the new record is in the can and we're sort of gearing up for that.
We should be filming a music video.
We are really, yeah. So we had a busy summer last year. So this year we're sort of holding off because your new album's gonna be out next year. So we're kind of like aiming for then for all the big stuff. So
Yeah.
so ETS kind of quiet. New music is coming. Probably
We're doing loads
side
of
the
covers,
year.
aren't we, on our socials? That's quite fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been enjoying those. Yeah.
we're up to shenanigans.
Trying to keep our
always.
chops up so we don't get unmatched fit,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
match unfit even.
And then, so if we're in May now, so we will have had Blanket's new LP is out. You must go listen to that. It would have been out for like a month. Grey Wave is just dropping on the 31st of May,
Yeah.
which is a must listen to as well. So yeah, on the Church Road front, Blanket, Grey Wave, get on Spotify, go listen to that.
Church Road and ETS have a shared Discord channel as well for anyone who likes to chat rubbish about films and music, and we have a lot of.
Yeah,
we
there's
have
a really good community on there. It's good fun on there, isn't it?
Yeah,
I like it.
it's just another way.
It's a stream of consciousness,
Yeah.
basically, which I quite like.
Daft memes, gig chat, band chat, game chat, lots of pictures of pets.
Yes.
The pet channel's great.
Yeah.
Vinyl Corner's good as well. We get to show off our little colourways. It's sweet.
It's great for harvesting.
It's basically a big show and tell thread, isn't it, really?
Yeah, 100%. It's amazing.
But yeah, I think, it's like we're being all hush-hush on the ETS front.
Yeah, I know.
Autumn's going to be when it's kicking off.
Nice.
So there'll be news to report soon. We'll do the whole big things coming soon.
Announce the announcement, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Something coming.
Yeah, the classic clear the socials. Everyone's like, oh, what's happening? They've emptied their Instagram. It's all gone black.
Just spring cleaning, guys. Nothing's happening.
I'm actually really excited because, like, for once, we're not rushing everything. Like, it's going to be, it's going to be busy, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be eye-watering.
Yeah, it's still funny, even though we're not planning on releasing until early next year, we're still like, right, this deadline's coming up. We need to get this done. It's always, a little bit of
Yeah, the sands of time are still going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's always something to get over to somebody for a certain time, isn't there?
Yeah, so new SMO coming imminently. That'll be out by the time this is out. But new music dropping there. I've been recording something new.
Cool thing.
Yeah, me and Justine are working on like a new band that will hopefully be out sometime soon.
Another Justine and Sammy show special.
The best way to do it is just to hit up our socials, see what we're up to, because we're always up to something.
Well, guys, thanks so much for joining me over lunchtime. Really appreciate it. And amazing to chat to you as always. And I'm sure we'll catch up with you soon.
Hell yeah.
Hell
Thank
yeah.
you for having us. It's been an absolute bloody pleasure.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
That was Justine and Sammy from Employed to Serve and Church Road Records. They took me to Halsell Fish and Chips in Woking. Sammy ordered a large chips with toefish, mushy peas and a whole lot of mayonnaise. Justine also ordered a large chips, but they'll be finished off by Sammy the Chip Pit. She'll have a cod, or a battered sausage if she hates herself, and will also moisten things up with mushy peas and mayo. She'll swill it down with a Diet Coke, where Sammy might be adventurous with a Dr Pepper, especially if it's sunny. The Riff and Chips charity t-shirt is now available to order. All proceeds will go to Bristol food-based charity The Mazzy Project. They're £15 each and have worldwide shipping. Head over to riffandchips.bandcamp.com and put in your order now. As always, I want to see your chippy teas too, so don't forget to tag us in any pics or let us know your favourite local chippy on socials using @riffandchips. Thanks to Rob Collier for providing the dive bomb, Edgar Gibbs for the screams, and Ryan Westwood for the artwork. See you in a week's time for our next episode.